let's go make a video. Computer is this way.
Year 2013 was amazing in terms of released games, and for me as a gamer, 2013 was quite a big milestone. I got into some series I always wanted to try out and played amazing new entries from my favorite franchises. So what a better way to celebrate the end of that year than to count down my personal favorite game experiences of that year. Now, this list doesn't just construct of games released in 2013. I'm looking at my favorite games I played last year, old, new, or something from between. And let me tell you, there were many good options for this list that were cut out in the end. No, have to do with honorable mentions, I guess. If you're any familiar with this year's releases, and if you've seen my top 10 favorite franchises, you might be able to predict some of the entries, but there will be a handful of surprises on the way. And don't worry, a certain wonderful game which everyone seems to love won't be number one. Alright, let's get rolling. As you might have guessed, I'm a huge fan of Japanese work. Some of my favorite games of all time, heck, even my favorites, have been made in the beautiful country of Japan. However, to my shame, there's one popular piece of Japanese work that I never really got into, and that would be Studio Ghibli's works. I understand how popular these movies have become in the West, but I never really gave them much of a chance. The only Studio Ghibli movie I can say I love is Castle in the Sky, and others, not so much. Every other Ghibli movie just went by for me, so I was kind of in the dark about them for a long time. That was until this game decided to show its face. Ni no Kuni is exactly like a Ghibli movie transferred into a game. For those who don't know, this game was developed by Level 5 and co-developed with Studio Ghibli, and I have to say, it's a one glorious game. The game tells a story of a young boy named Oliver, who, through a fateful accident, loses his mother. His tears awake his doll, who is really a fairy named Drippy. Drippy tells Oliver that he is the pure-hearted one, a wizard destined to defeat the dark Jinn Shadar. And when Drippy tells Oliver that there's a chance to save his mother, Oliver decides to go with Drippy to his home world to stop Shadar, and learning magic and making some friends along the way. The gameplay is typical RPG. You go from town to town, complete certain objectives, and continue on. And as always, there are also lots of different side quests to be had. But this game has its own things that make it unique. First, broken-heartedness. In the game, there are many people who've had a piece of their heart stolen. In order to progress through the game and complete some side quests, you have to gather piece of hearts from people who have lots of the feature that the broken-hearted people lack. Second, the fighting system. The game is kind of a mix of turn-based and real-time action RPG. You can move freely around the battlefield, but you have a selection menu where you choose and perform different actions. And finally, the familiars. These little guys are basically the best method of offense in this game. Familiars are creatures connected to their partner who aid them in battle. As they level up, their stats will rise and they will learn new tricks. And when you have enough level, you can use these special treats to make them metamorphose into a stronger form. You can also get more familiars by taming the monsters you've beaten after you've impressed them. Sound familiar? Yep, you guessed it, it's Pokemon. Finally, the game has some very lovable characters like the main hero Oliver, supporter girl Esther, cocky hotshot Swain, and Drippy, the High Lord of the Fairies. To wrap things up, Ni no Kuni is an amazing game. I haven't beaten it yet, but I think I can safely say that even though I loved Castle in the Sky, Ni no Kuni is my favorite work from Studio Ghibli, and it will probably always be. Grab that vacuum of yours, it's time for some ghost busting! I didn't play the original Luigi's Mansion on GameCube, but Luigi's Mansion 2 is all good that the original was, and even better. The core gameplay of Luigi's Mansion is still basically the same. You suck up ghosts and maybe boost if you're lucky. But this time around, you can explore 5 mansions and they all have their own theme. Story is also a bit different. In order to keep the ghosts in control, EGAD has made a thing called Dark Moon, which prevents the ghosts from taking over. However, someone breaks the Dark Moon and you can probably guess what happens next. So in order to restore the Dark Moon, EGAD asks Luigi's help to find the 6 missing pieces from the mansions. Luigi's Mansion 2 is considerably longer than its predecessor, which is very good. The game also offers new gameplay mechanics like the new flashlight and the dark light. There are also many memorable bosses, just like in the original. There's also the Thrill Tower, but I've never touched it, so we'll just leave it at that. Only negative thing I can say about this game is that it feels a tiny bit too linear with the mission select screens and whatnot. But overall, there's not much to complain. Luigi's Mansion 2 is a very stellar game, and a great successor to the other Mario Bros. Crazy Adventure. Also, Luigi Comic Relief. As you probably know from watching my last countdown, I love Professor Layton. And last year, Level 5 released Top Hat Gentleman's Last Adventure, and nothing was gonna stop me from playing this last journey in the series, Azran Legacy. First of all, the setting for this game is interesting. In the beginning of the game, Layton, Luke, and Emmy are invited to see a living mummy by an archaeologist named Desmond Sycamore. Turns out that this living mummy is a part of a puzzle left behind by the Azran civilization. And so, Professor Layton must travel around the world in order to find the pieces to solve the Azran puzzle. The gameplay is Layton norm. You investigate everything you can, talk with people to progress, solve puzzles, and other clever stuff. What makes Azran Legacy shine in this department is lineup of puzzles. I don't know, they just feel more balanced this time around, and most of them are quite fun. And the story, well, this is usually the part where the Layton games shine, but this one has quite a few shortcomings. Although the setting is interesting, I can't say I like it too much. It has a feeling of a grand adventure, sure, but it feels lacking. In the last 5 Layton games, there was a certain place where the plot revolved around and where the mystery was hidden within. In this game, it feels separated. Every area has their own subplot, but they're way too short for me to get full enjoyment out of them. Final gripe I have with this game are the ending twists. Layton series is known for their somewhat ridiculous plot twists, but for this one, I have no words. I don't want to spoil anything because this game isn't out in America yet, but I'll say that this is the first time a plot twist in a Layton game has bugged me. In the end, while Azran Legacy has its benefits and strong points, it has enough flaws to be my least favorite Layton game so far. But it wasn't bad neither as a Layton game or as a finale for one of the greatest game series ever. Goodbye, Professor Layton. For Nintendo, the last year might have been Year of Luigi, but for me, it was Year of Zelda. I played a total of 7 Zelda games last year. However, I haven't had the time to finish all of them. Luckily, the only one I was able to finish is the number 7 on this list. And with honorary mention going to Majora's Mask, here's Minish Cap. This game really opened up the 2D Zeldas for me. Up until before playing this game, I didn't think too highly of the 2D side of the Hyrule Kingdom. But after playing Minish Cap, my perspective changed completely. If it wasn't clear enough already, Minish Cap is my favorite 2D Zelda game. It really shows the capabilities of the GBA because the game looks amazing for a GBA game. This game also showed me that the 2D Zeldas can be just as fun as the 3D titles. The gameplay is very solid and normal 2D Zelda. You cut through enemies, grass and pots, collect rupees and hearts, upgrade gear and complete side quests, go through great dungeons and defeat the evil threatening the peace of Hyrule. But Minish Cap has its own game-changing element that makes it stand out from the rest. With the power of your companion Eslo, you're able to shrink yourself into an incredibly tiny form of Minish, which gives you an entirely different perspective for the land of Hyrule. Even some of the dungeons are tiny. As for the story, it's pretty basic. An evil sorcerer named Vati opens a sealed chest filled with monsters and turns Princess Zelda into stone. In order to banish the evil, defeat Vati and save Zelda, you have to restore the power of the Holy Sword, Hikori Blade, with the help of Minish, which eventually leads you to find the elements from different dungeons and awakening the Four Sword. It might be simple, but it's the content that matters, and it's so... Who made this again? Oh, you son of a bitch! At any rate, Minish Cap is amazing. It really showed me the potential of 2D Zelda games, and much, much more. Get your hats on and start dancing because...
It's showtime!
This game is pretty freaking awesome. Rhythm Thief was a game I had my eye quite long on, but I wasn't able to get my hands on. But when this game was released in the 3DS eShop, I instantly took the chance. Anyway, Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure is, if you didn't guess already, a rhythm game with twists. Rhythm part of the game comes from the rhythm games scattered throughout the game, a bit like the puzzles in the Layton games. And these rhythm games are mostly fun. and they really use the 3DS's capabilities to their fullest. Speaking of Layton, this game is also very similar to the Professor's games. Main part of the game is investigation. You stroll around Paris looking for medals, and talk to different people to advance the story. You can also record different voices you hear and use them to accomplish different things, usually to drive the story forward. Presentation is also solid. Great visuals and Layton-ish art style, good voice acting, and like a rhythm game should have, divinely amazing music. But my favorite part of this game is the story. In the beginning of the game, the main character Raphael finds a clue that might lead him to his missing father. A bracelet that has the same symbol as a coin his father left behind. Unfortunately, this bracelet is in Louvre, so Raphael turns into Phantom R, his alter ego and a master thief, in order to steal the bracelet from the museum. On his way, he meets Marie, who is being chased by a bunch of knights and a man who claims to be Napoleon Bonaparte. He wants something from Marie, but Phantom R saves her, and this is how the events start rolling. Many people have said that this story is silly, and while it is crazy at times, it's also very well written and thought out. Overall, Rhythm Thief didn't disappoint, and I recommend it to anyone remotely interested. Sega, please make a sequel for this game. I would buy it! Raise your hand if you saw this coming. Pokemon is one of my personal favorite franchises, so there was no way I was gonna miss out on the 6th generation of Pocket Monsters. And how was it? Well, I'll tell you. Pokemon X and Y is a big step forward in terms of the main series. Sort of. It's the first main series 3D Pokemon game, so there's that, but in the end, it doesn't make that many game-changing aspects. That being said, the 3D visuals are gorgeous, and the Pokemon look great in 3D. On the topic of visuals and presentation, the music is also ear candy, just like a Pokemon game should have. The gameplay is good old turn-based stuff, with only major change probably being the Mega Evolutions. The Kalos region is a nice place to stroll through, and even the story is pretty good. The new Pokemon are also very impressive, from Mexican Wrestler Bird to Possessed Sword and
Ice Cold Coffee Table!
There are also some nice new changes here and there, like character customization and super training. However, it's not without its faults. First, the Mega Evolutions. Now, I don't hate the Mega Evolutions, but they are very overpowered. I'm not a competitive player, but looking at the stats of these things, holy crap. And many Pokemon that got a Mega Evolution really didn't need it. And 2 Mega Charizards and Mewtwo's is an overkill. Second, this game really didn't make any massive innovations other than bringing the main series into 3D. Bit like Gen 5's lack of innovations, but way worse. Also, Team Flare just sucks. They are stupid. Final gripe I have with X and Y is the lack of Pokemon. Gen 6 introduced only 72 Pokemon, also including the event Pokemon, which is the smallest amount in the history of Pokemon. Yes, the phrase quality over quantity does apply here, but I just wanted more, you know? When talking about X and Y, people seem to be torn in half. Others worship the ground it walks on and praise it as the best Pokemon game, and others say it was a big disappointment. I myself am somewhere in between. Pokemon X and Y is another glorious installment in the main series and serves its purpose well, but it leaves a feeling of wanting more with lacking in something that made some of my favorites so great. But I guess that's just how it goes. I have kept my eye on Welp for some time now, but the only games I've played from them are the both Portal games. That wasn't until I stepped into the fortress. This game is awesome with capital A. Team Fortress 2 is without question one of the best PC gameplay experiences I've had, and also one of the best FPS experiences. What makes TF2 so much fun is its continuous replay value. You play against human opponents on different servers created by Valve and TF2 community. There's no story mode whatsoever, you just go in, pick your class, and have a blast. Speaking of the classes, they're all awesome in their own ways. There's the heavy, weird Russian guy who has a thing for weapons and a stupidly thick accent, the scout, voice-cracking hothead who solves problems with guns and running, the soldier, war enthusiast with hate towards every other nationality, and the demo man, Scottish black bombardier who loves to blow shit up and take some booze from his trusty bottle. Playing as every class is fun in some way, and the best thing is that they're very well balanced. If you keep losing, it usually means you're not very good, or the one dominating you is very good. There are also a wide variety of weapons in the game with their own strengths and weaknesses, which keeps things in balance. At least, most of the weapons do. Overall, TF2 is a game where you can always have a blast, so go get it now. What's that? You don't have any money? Well, that's the thing. This game is completely free to play. You have no excuse. The order of the top 3 on this list was probably the hardest decision I had to make considering this list. All 3 entries were very superb games and I always knew they would end up on the top. The question was which order they would be in, but they're all number 1 in my book. At the end of the day, I made my decision. First, we have Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies. If you saw my last countdown, you probably saw this coming from miles away. I'm a huge Ace Attorney fan, and missing out on the 5th installment in the main series was not in question for me. I'm still a bit gutted that we didn't get a retail release, but hey, you can't win them all, especially when it's Capcom. Anyway, Dual Destinies is a very good game, for reasons I'm about to explain. First of all, it's the first Ace Attorney game on the 3DS, which opens a whole new world to the game. In the previous installments, you felt like you were just standing on the same spot the whole time when investigating or talking to someone. But with 3DS's new capabilities, the game adds little tweaks here and there to make you feel like you're in a 3D world. Speaking of capabilities, the game's presentation is fantastic. The game looks awesome on the 3DS, and the music, I can't take it anymore, it's so good! There are also a handful anime cutscenes that feature mostly good voice acting. Sam Riegel as Phoenix? Fuck yeah! Next up is the gameplay, and this part hasn't changed much. There are still 2 main phases in every case, investigation and trial. In short, first you gather evidence from the crime scene, talk to a bunch of different people, and go defend in court. As I said, the investigation has changed a bit due to the 3D effects, but it's still pretty much the same. The mystical abilities of the two attorneys also return in the form of Phoenix's Cyclops and Apollo's Perceiving. And the court sections are same as ever, with cross-examinations and epic breakdowns. So there are not that many things to stand out in terms of the gameplay, with one exception, and that would be the Mood Matrix. In Mood Matrix, you can detect witnesses' emotions during testimonies. I would try to explain all of it, but you have to play the game to get the full picture. All you need to know that it is awesome. But the story is where this game shines. Phoenix has returned to lawyering, and now he has a new rookie attorney on board, Athena Sachs. Joining with his junior partner Apollo Justice, they end up against Simon Blackwell, a convicted prisoner who is allowed to stand in court as a prosecutor. Sounds crazy, right? It's Ace Attorney, don't question it. Also a good amount of very likable characters, my favorites being Athena Sykes, Juniper Woods, and Simon Blackwell. I do have some faults with this game, such as streamlined investigations and the lack of Cyclops, but there are so many things that it does right that I can't help but to give an applause. This is truly a new beginning for our attorneys, and I can only hope that it only gets better from here. If you didn't see this coming, then you don't know me at all. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, or Sly 4, is, from any way I look at it, my most anticipated game of all time. For years I waited for a sequel for an amazing game that was Sly 3, and last year my wish came true. Sly 4, from many angles, is very similar to its predecessor trilogy, but the main reason it's very different is because it's made by a different company than that which made the 3 previous games. For me, this game wasn't a disappointment. Like I said, Sly 4 is very similar to its predecessors. The gameplay involves sneaking around and stealing as Sly, smashing stuff as Murray, and hacking and other clever stuff as Bentley. But there are a few twists to be had, because the story of this game is that the Cooper gang must restore Thievius raccoons by traveling in time. You also get to play as Sly's ancestors in different time periods. In gameplay, they are very similar to Sly, but they have their own abilities and personalities to make them stand out. The presentation is also pretty good, with old voices coming back to play the Cooper gang and excellent graphics and visuals. The soundtrack is great as well, with music that sounds just like Sly. Now, I do have lots of faults with this game, but I don't really mind them anymore. This is the game I waited for 8 years, so as long as I can do sneaky stuff with Sly, smash everything as Murray, and technobabble with Bentley, I'm happy. And that's why I love it so much, and why I think it deserves the number 2 spot. But given my love for Sly, why only number 2? Well, let's just say something better came along. Okay, it's all recapping time before the top game of 2013. Number 10, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Number 9, Luigi's Mansion 2. Number 8, Last Late. Number 7, Hopping on Mushrooms. Number 6, Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure. Number 5, Team Flare Sucks. Number 4, Time for Sandwich. Number 3, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. And number 2, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. Now, considering the order of my last list, this might seem a bit contradictory, but all I can say that these games are just so good. Tales of Graces and Tales of Xillia. That's right, number 1 is a tie. Tie between two amazing games from amazing series. Up until this point, my experience with the Tales series was very vague, with watching videos from YouTube and learning story through interwebs. That was until I played Graces. If you force me to choose a favorite, then I can say with confidence that Graces is my favorite out of the two, but I can't just leave Xillia unmentioned. First of all, like most of the Tales games, the main cast is full of great characters, ranging from good-willed Asbel and manly old man Malek, to do-gooder honor student Jude, decisive and firm Milla, and womanizer mercenary Alvin. The stories are also top-notch, but if I would explain the stories of the both games, we would be here all day. And now the big one, the gameplay. Both games have a lots of similarities when compared to each other, but there are also a lot of differences. First of all, they have very different battle systems. In Graces, you focus on comboing the opponent with assault arts and normal arts, with certain amount of times. Once you've done enough, you need to charge up and go again. In Xillia, it's more of saving your TP to use arts to combo the enemy, and use link arts with the other party members to engage more effective attacks. There are also other notable differences such as the title system, Lilium Orbs, and dualizing, but both of them follow the same Tales formula staple to the series. In terms of the presentation, Graces and Xillia are probably the best looking Tales games to date. Xillia looks maybe a bit better due to Graces being originally a Wii game, but they're still nice nonetheless. Also, some superb voice acting is to be had, with great voice actors such as Sam Riegel, Laura Bailey, Jamieson Price, and Matthew Mercer, and many others. And the music is beyond words. You've listened to it throughout this entry, it's just too good. Overall, both Tales of Graces and Xillia have been able to impress me. They have their own strengths and weaknesses, but it's the overall package that ultimately creates my favorite game I played last year. For some it was The Last of Us, for some it was the wonderful 101, but for me, it's these two bad boys. This being Finish Duck, and even though Tales series is a new franchise for me, I continue to grow along with it.
Here's to another great year of gaming. And Smash Bros.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.
Your soul is mine.